You know, whenever I was skinnier, it was easier to look back here and see if the light was green and it was on. But since gotten older and a little bit bigger, it's tougher to see it. I just want to bring up a couple of new items before we get into the main service yet. I don't know if you're aware of this, but because of the cutbacks and everything like that, we were getting a hefty donation by the Southeast Texas Food Bank for our blessing box outside. And it was allowing us to fill it up a lot more often than we used to. Unfortunately, like I said earlier, there have been some budget cuts and stuff like that. So I'm asking you to just remain in prayer about the blessing box and making sure that we can still fill it up for the need of just this community. I have noticed that there are a lot of blessing boxes that are going up all over, not just in our city, but throughout the cities in this area. And it truly is a outreach, and it's a blessing for a lot of families that just need a little help, you know. And if you continue to give to the blessing box, I appreciate it. Today is Communion Sunday, so we're going to be partaking of that shortly. But it used to frustrate me whenever a minister would get behind the pulpit on a Sunday morning or a Sunday night, or, you know, occasionally on a Wednesday night, and he would say, you know, I had this message, and it was a good one, but I got to church this morning, or I was driving into my office, and then the Lord just changed it. And I kept wondering, He had all week. He prepared you for another sermon. So, you know, my God is unchanging. So why all of a sudden, Sunday morning after I've studied all week, that He decides to change my message? And now that I'm a pastor, it happens. I can't explain it. It still frustrates me at times. But anyways, this is what you get. All right? The cost of a divided house. And like I started last week, here's the book that someone blessed me with. It says, what do you get when you cross a porcupine with a snail? Dad joke here. What do you get when you cross a porcupine with a snail?
A dead snail.
Almost, huh? You get a slow poke. All right, all kidding aside, I know it's a dad joke. Only me and John will get this, but hey, we got it.
I got you, Rob.
Thank you. Paul's not here to support me. Brother Rick's back there. He doesn't know what we're talking about. So, hey, we got you. All right. But all kidding aside, the message of today is going to be the cost of a divided house. If you're turning to 2 Corinthians, the 12th chapter, verse 8 through 10, we're going to begin reading there. And this is the Apostle Paul speaking here. And he says, 3 different times I begged you, and I begged the Lord to take it away. Each time he said, my grace is all you need. My power works best in weakness. So now I'm glad to boast about my weaknesses, so that the power of Christ can work through me. That's why I take pleasure in my weaknesses, and in the insults and hardships and persecutions, the troubles that I suffer for Christ. For when I'm weak, then I am strong. Now let's go over to the New Testament, or over to Matthew, and let's read chapter 12, verse 25. Matthew 12, verse 25. Simply reads, knowing their thoughts, he said to them, every kingdom divided against itself is laid waste, and no city or house divided against itself can stand. Let me read that last part. No city or house divided against itself will stand. Now, I don't know if you were here for our Mother's Day message. I don't even remember what we talked about. But I know that we have a lot of mothers here, a lot of women here. And although it's going to seem like I'm directing it to the mothers and the women of this church, it's a sad testimony for the men in America. I've talked about this several times, where in churches now, because the men are so weak spiritually, that the women are having to take over and take up the slack of what God designed men to do. And I'm about to read you a lot of statistics that we're going to throw at you. And I want you to take your time, and I want you to really look at these statistics. I've known a lot of single moms throughout my life. And I have the utmost respect for any single mom out there tackling that job. And trust me, it is a job. It is a job made for two. But because of her character, she's having to do the job of two people. So let's get started. Starting in 2002, the percentage of marriages ending in a divorce was 42%. 42%. Now that doesn't seem very, especially if you're happily married and stuff like that. But 42%. That's 4 out of 10 marriages ending in divorce. That was in 2002. Well, Brother Robert, what does that have to do with 2025? Well, I don't know if you realize that, but divorce, out of those 42%, there were kids involved. And guess what? Those kids are now grown-ups, and those kids now are having kids. Okay? And the trend only went up and up and up, with the exception of the years of the COVID. The divorce rate kept going higher and higher. But people still kept having kids. And that's where I want to lay the foundation of today's service. Matt's going to throw a lot up. I'm going to ask him to be patient whenever he presents this, to make sure that you look at these numbers and it hits home. It may not hit your household, but let me tell you, if you have kids or you have grandkids, their friends could be these kids. Their parents could be this mom, this dad that went through a divorce. So let's go. Matt, are you able to put those up, or are we still having some difficulties? Be patient. Look at these. 15 million single moms in the USA to date. 22 million children being raised by single parents. If you're married and you think you got troubles, you better praise God that you've got a man or you've got a woman and you've got a spouse that is willing to stick with you through the toughest times, because times are not getting easier. We have 1 out of 5 children are living with a single mom. That's 300% more single mothers now than in 1960. 300 times more. in Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, and Kentucky, 45% are born to unmarried mothers. Now, it seems like I'm harping on the women. Where's the man? The woman didn't get pregnant by herself. It takes two. We're the real men. Louisiana has the highest percentage of single mother households with 53%. Every other household is a single mom. Followed by Nevada, Arizona. I guess that's supposed to be New Mexico. I don't know what NW is, but Mississippi, South Carolina, Florida, and West Virginia. Mississippi has the highest percentage of children born to unmarried mothers. Look at that. Look at all that. That involves a woman and a man. And if you're in a healthy relationship, if you've already raised your kids and now you're on grandkids, man, you need to give yourself a big hand. Because there was 42% of marriages that did not have that privilege. Now, you can complain, you can gripe about your wife, you can complain and gripe about your husband, but at least y'all are still together. You're giving your kids a more than adequate chance of surviving in this world. And I'm not even talking about Christian or non-Christian. I'm just talking about people in general. Because divorce hits married couples that are Holy Ghost filled, speaking in tongues, whatever you want to throw at it. Satan is destroying the home. We can look at the kids today. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of great kids out there. There are a lot of parents that's doing an excellent job. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about the other ones. The ones you see. And then you want to get mad at the parent, or you want to get mad at the children. Let's just face it, what we want to do is we want to judge them. Well, my marriage is good. I didn't have that problem. All they need to do is spank that kid or put him in timeout and everything will be okay. My mom and dad had 3 kids. 2 boys and a girl. The girl was the worst. Sis. I know she looks sweet and innocent, and she's very talented and everything like that. But she was mean. She was mean. I would used to have to do favors just to ride her bicycle. We want to get into that. I know that's some inner stuff that I'm having to deal with as a child. Then you had me. I was the middle child. And then you had my brother. Woo! He was just bad. Sis was mean. I was sweet. Chuck was just bad. Things work with each child differently. And then I had my kids. And then you would figure with the girl, all you have to do is just kind of raise your voice, threaten them, maybe verbally, something like, maybe swat them a little bit, and everything would be lined out. It was totally opposite. My son, if you raised his voice and he thought he was in trouble, then the tears rolled. I won't say never. I rarely had to physically touch him. Now my daughter, on the other hand, whew, different story. So whenever I see kids misbehaving in public, I don't judge the parents, nor do I judge the kids. I just pray for them because I know this world is tough. I know that they have friends, and they have friends that have parents that are single moms, and some are single dads. We've just got to be understanding. We've got to be patient. You know, and if you're a parent that shows your kids love, you got to understand that bad kid that you don't want your children to hang around with may need you to be an influence. Well, their mom does dope, or their mom is worthless, or what have you. More so, they need someone stable. They need an example. Like Sis said, sometimes we are the only Bible people are allowed to read. That goes beyond the church. That goes into society. I was telling a young lady that's very close to me, I said, you know what, you can do 100 things great. You can. Man, woman, it doesn't matter. You can do 1,000, 10,000 things great. You just mess up one time, and everybody wants to jump on that bandwagon. You'll get a few praises when you did it right. But you mess up, they're ready to burn you at the stake. Let me get back to these statistics. Counting the cost of a divided house. 86% of single-parent families are led by mothers in the U.S. 19 million of those 22 million children are under 18 years of age and are living with a single mom. What happened to those 19 million men? I know we can jump over to the women. What happened to the 3 million women? Why didn't they stick? But I'm focusing on the 19 million. There are 19 million guys out there. And I'm sure there's some exceptions. I'm not saying that. But it used to be a proudful thing to be a man in America. But these stats right here, I'm ashamed to be called a man. Because there's guys out there that are not taking responsibility of their gift from God. They're putting it on a woman. And you're going to see some statistics about women and their pay and their household and stuff like that in a little bit. But let's go ahead and continue with some of these stats. 70% of single moms work outside the home. You know what that means? Child care. Or, if you're blessed with grandparents that are able to keep the kids, that's great. Except, grandparents are old, kids are young. Let me repeat that. Grandparents are old, kids are young. 50% of single moms are employed in low-wage jobs and often have no access to a paid leave. So that means if they're sick or they have to take their child to the doctor or to the dentist or whatever, they don't get paid. They lose that money. %70 receive free or reduced price meals. I'm the first one to say I know that there's people out there that takes advantage of that. I understand that. But how about the ones that don't? How about the ones that actually try? We've got moms throughout here. You know how tough it was with a spouse. Can you imagine doing all that by yourself? And people are saying, what's wrong with the church today? I've got 19 million guys out there. One-third of all single mother families, one-third of single mother families spend more than half their income on housing, which makes sense. I don't know about you, unless you have a fixed mortgage, all right? But I would gather that a lot of these single moms aren't worrying about a mortgage. They're just worrying about rent for the month. We haven't even got into the food, the health care, the babysitting. That comes soon. %15 of single mothers have no health insurance. That seems kind of low. Unless you're one of those 15% moms that have no health insurance for your kids. 20% did not complete high school. 2 out of 10 women, single moms, did not finish high school. Child care. In some states, the cost is more than half of their mother's income. So, let's go back. What was that on 70% of single moms work outside the home, so they're paying for house care, and there are 50% of single moms employed in low-wage jobs often have no access to paid leave, so it's going to cost them money to take care of their kids. But 1/3 of single mom families spend more than half their income on housing, and then half on what? Child care. So if you spend half on child care and you spend half on somewhere to live, you got food, you got gas, you got utilities. Good breakdown here. I like to keep numbers simple. Let's just say you got $100. You got $7 going to miscellaneous. I don't know what that could be. Maybe, I don't know, toilet paper, toothpaste, whatever. 18% or $18 goes to food. $29 go to housing. $15 go on transportation. $9 go on health care. That's wrong. Anybody that's in the medical field know that's wrong. 6% on clothing, 16% on child care and education. That's $100 there. A single mom is carrying all this burden. And then I have the audacity to walk into Walmart and judge her. Talk about her. Make fun of them at times. Show no compassion whatsoever to them. She is working to provide the best she can for a child that the father is not in the same household. Again, she is doing 2 jobs. Ask any mom that has a spouse. All right? She will honestly say, and rightfully so, I do the job of 2 people during the day and during the night. But being a single mom, wow, my heart just goes out to a single mom. It really does. Matt, go ahead and bring the other one up. Raising a child from birth to the age of 18 costs an average a total of $233,610 or $13,000 a year. Seems like not very much money. For a single mom, it's a fortune. A lot of us have jobs, we have 401k, and a lot of people don't have $233,000 in their 401k or in their savings. And you're talking about a single mom that is paying half of her income for housing, and then if she's fortunate, she's able to pay someone to keep her child. And maybe have a little food. Maybe have a little extra. But let's put it in perspective. A single mother earns 84% of what a man earns. Now see, not only are men not stepping up and taking responsibility, and the woman's having to do it, but the woman's having to do it at a 16% deficit to start off with. That's 16% less than what a man will earn. And let's just go, and I'll lowball this for easy numbers, $30,000. A man will make $30,000. My dad, at his highest peak, made $33,000 a year. Working 10 hours a day, driving a truck. And that was good. So I know these numbers are old, but just to make it simple. So the same woman, or the same job, the woman would earn $25,200. $4,800 less. And she's having to work double because the man is not taking the responsibility that he should be taking with these children. Because you know what? It wasn't worth working. I just couldn't stand that my wife nagged all the time. I couldn't stand the way she breathed, the way she brushed her teeth, the way she chewed her food. I just wanted out of the marriage. I wanted to go have fun on something else or with someone else. Forget the kids. But yeah, we want to go through Walmart, Kmart, and complain about, God, these kids today. A woman of color earns 64% of what a man does. That's 36% less. So again, if a man makes $30,000, the woman would make only $19,200. If you're of color. But there's even a worse one. Look at the Hispanic. She only earns 55%. You remember? You remember us white women? 84%. If you're of color, you're only earning 64%. These are not my stats. But if you're Hispanic, you're only earning 55%. But yet you're still a single mom. You're still doing everything that a man does. Even more so. Again, sticking with the 30,000. The man would make 30,000. The woman would only make 16,500. Try to raise a kid on that. I know we got government aid and all that. If a man was a man, things would be a lot different now, wouldn't it? We need to man up. We need to start mentoring these fathers, these guys. I don't even want to call him a man. I don't want to be known or associated with guys that would do this. Matt, go to the next one, please. Okay, so we have to get to my notes now. I know this isn't very religious, but the Bible was clearly said, a house that's divided will not stand. It's 42% now. What will it be next year? What will it be 10 years from now? The churches continue to suffer. Ever since I've been going to church, And it doesn't matter if it was the big churches, the medium-sized churches, or even the country churches. What I found out that there was more women in those churches than men. And what does the Bible say? In essence, it says, guys, I put y'all in charge. Not to rule over women, not to dominate them, but to be held accountable. I made you a helpmate. But because us guys are too lazy and we found a loophole, we'll put all the responsibility on the women. They'll raise our kids. They'll discipline our kids. Heck, man, I get tired of one, I'll just move to another one. There's plenty of women out there. I don't care if you're in an unhappy marriage right now. I don't care if you think your husband's the scum of the earth. You need to fight, and the men do too, need to fight for everything that you can to keep that marriage together. At least for the kids. Because you've seen the stats, you've seen the income of single moms. It's not pretty. I can't sugarcoat it any more than what I did. Women, every one of you, you've got my utmost respect. Because you're doing what God has designed a man to do. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you're the one that's going to have to take responsibility. You're the one that's going to have to work 2 or 3 jobs just to get your kids through high school and hopefully to a good job. Just like we supply to the blessing box. Just like we supply Christmas gifts to the kids that are in need. We need to do it to these kids from divorced families, single mom households. We need to stop criticizing these moms and start backing them up and start helping them as much as we can. We need to stop judging. I'm not saying that we're judging. I'm just saying the world is. $19 million. 19 million. Are under the age of 18 and are living with single moms. Let that soak in. How many million people does Houston have? Anyone know? Honestly, I don't. At one point it was, 3 million? I'm sure it's probably more than that now. That's 6 times the size of Houston, of children out there that's being raised by single moms. I know these numbers. Y'all are probably tired of hearing it. I don't care. This is reality. There's not a week that goes by that people don't ask or make the comment, what's wrong with the church today? They don't have leadership. They have women that are doing what's supposed to be designed for a man to do. That's what's wrong with the church. We're out of balance with God's will. Sister Deborah, if you would, let's get ready for communion. God is saying, knowing their thoughts, He said to them, every kingdom divided against itself is laid waste, and no city or house divided against itself will stand. It just does not get any better than that. A household is designed for a man, father, a woman, a mother, and a child. And if that's divided, and we've got 42% just now. Now see, whenever we were in 2005? Okay, when it shot to a divorce rate of 42.5, so what? No big deal. Well, guess what? 23 years later, we're paying that price. And for us men that are taking responsibility and doing our jobs and stuff like that, guess what? It's hitting our paycheck, because guess what's paying those government projects and programs? Women, y'all are doing a great job. Y'all are. This is nothing to be ashamed of. But men, this is something to be ashamed of. This is something that we've got to fix in America. And it's got to start in churches like this. We've got to be mentors to kids. Women, little kids today, got to know that a man and what a man is supposed to do and what a man's supposed to... And you get it straight from the Word. The Word is very simple. God tells us exactly how to raise both girls and boys. Come on, Sister Ever, I'll never shut up. This is really one of those things that I just take personal, because I'm a man and I just hate to see single moms busting their behinds out there and people are talking about them and criticizing them and stuff like that. And then, you know, you cancel these people that are having marriage problems. And it's like, I don't like the way my husband eats his food, or the way my wife makes the bed, or, you know, she sleeps in late, or, you know, he likes to not take the garbage out. Petty stuff like that, get over it. He's there for your children. She's there for your children. Be thankful for that. He snores. She's got morning breath. Buy more toothpaste, more mouthwash. Buy a mouth guard so he'll stop snoring. Come on, Sister, everyone won't shut up.
The Keel.